Hi, and welcome to the Mission to Mars, the planning element of how to seriously unfuck your business. So why do we call it Mission to Mars, first of all? We call it Mission to Mars quite simply because it's the longer journey, it's the bigger plan. And what you'll really like about this is it is not a business plan. It is a vision planner. There's a big difference. Business plans, I'm not a great fan of them. You tend to see them twice, right? When you spend all that time create them in the first place because some lending institutions asked for it, and then you see it again maybe a year later when you're rummaging around for those AAA batteries that you know is in that drawer somewhere. Very few business plans get actioned. Very few vision planners don't get actioned. So let's start on what this actually is. So if you're doing the course, you will have printed this PDF off. And what you'll see is this circle divided into 8 sections. And which really works is once we start to build this, each of the sections starts to challenge each other, right? So when you start to build your plan, you'll start to see each area challenging the other. So first bit of advice is use a pencil because you won't get this right the first time or the second time. And then what happens is, as well as each area challenging the other, it validates your numbers. And you'll also see now, as well as having the 8 sectors, you can also see now that we have got a number of circles. So I've got the inner circle, which is now light sort of pinky colour, and that's where your business is today. Then the first white circle is where your business is going to be in 12 months. Then we've got that middle grey circle, which is where it's going to be in 3 years. And then the outer white circle, which is the 5 year mission to Mars. So let's have a look at the 8 sections now. What section you start doesn't really matter. And some business owners prefer to start today and work out. Some prefer to work out and then draw it in. It doesn't matter, right? Try both. The whole point of this is to start to get you to see where your business is today and what the power of possibility is for 5 years' time. So we start as most business owners do, but like I say, it doesn't, you don't have to do it this way, but most business owners tend to start with the turnover and then you look out where they're going to be in 5 years' time. So that's what we'll do. So we're over here in the top. I'll get my pen out and I'll mark here. We're up here in the turnover. And when I say to business owners, where do I be in 5 years' time? They'll come up with a turnover figure. And what we want to do is we want to validate that figure, right? Because you could say anything, you could have a business turning over, maybe 100,000. If it would have been 5 years' time, 20 million. That's great, right? It's not my job, it's not anybody's job to say that's right or wrong or good or bad. The only thing you'll hear me saying is show me. Show me how you're going to do that. And that's what the vision planner does. So if you put over here your turnover and you wanted it to be, let's just say 2 million, right? That's absolutely fine. It's a great target for 5 years' time. But then you'll start to see the next sections. It starts to ask, well, how many customers do you need for that? And what's the sort of average sale value based on that 2 million turnover? What's your average sale value going to be? So based on the average sale value, how many customers do you need? And that will validate your turnover projection because you'll look at it and you'll go, that's actually quite a lot. Maybe that's not quite right. Or maybe you have to look at higher average sale value. Or you'll look at that and you'll go, that's totally doable. That's only 25 or 30% year on year growth. Now, what you'll also find with this vision planner is it works very well with modules you've already completed on this program. The two that I want you to revisit is the one you did in week 2, it would have been, where we looked at the 7, what they call the Magnificent Seven, the 7 numbers that drive your business, because that's what's going to give you this turnover, average sale value, number of customers figure. And then I want you to go back to week number 3, where we looked at the year on year growth, because obviously that's going to be important because that forecast year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. So once you've then got your your turnover and you're happy with the average sale values, number of customers, then we can start moving on to the rest of the planner. So if you can be there in 5 years' time, you then start to say, okay, so if our business is here today, we absolutely know where we are today, obviously. So for me to start to get towards this 2 million, where do I need to be in 12 months' time? Put a question mark at that. Where do I need to be in 12 months' time to start this journey? And if you're turning over just now maybe 250,000, what could that be? 500,000, more or less? It's your business, it's your numbers, you decide. But you do the exact same. Average sale value means I need this amount of customers. And then the important one is this one here. Put a big X in that. And that is the 3 year point. That's the milestone. That's only the halfway point or heading towards the halfway point. For me to get to here, to 12 months, to get to my 5 years, what's my midpoint? And this is a great way for you to start to plan what we call the growth curve. And we cover that later on in the course. And then you've got a nice year on year growth curve, growth pattern, growth projections that's going to start you working towards your vision. So that's how you work on the vision planner. Now, you'll see there's little icons in some of these. So in this one here, it says to go back and look at the Magnificent Seven, the 7 numbers that drive your business. That is really, really important. Now, once you've actually got your customers and turnover one, then you can start to move on to the other sections, right? And the next one we'll look at over in the left-hand side, let's move over to the left, is we'll look at the marketing, right? Because if your business is growing from here to here to here to here, then obviously your marketing is going to increase. So then start to look at, well, in this section here, what marketing mediums am I going to have to use? Because if you're only using one or two, you're going to have to start looking at additional marketing mediums to grow your business from here to your, in this case, 2 million. And then, of course, that's going to incur a cost to the business. But marketing shouldn't be a cost. Marketing should be an investment. Every pound you put in brings back a tenner. Marketing should never be a cost. It should always be an investment. But we need to know what that's going to be. So we start putting that in here, right? And then we're going to estimate this column here. Let's put a squiggly line down it. What our estimated reach is. Now, again, this is where it ties in. This is why I love this, right? Because it's bringing together everything that we have done so far, right? It's now looking at your marketing reach. Now, if you remember back when we did the 7 numbers, that was the opening figure, the marketing reach. So when we start to look at this now, and this is what I mean by the challenging, right? When we start to look at marketing, we now know that in years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to have to reach this amount of people, which means we're going to have to do this amount of marketing, which is going to cost us this amount of money. I'm going to go back to the 7 numbers that shows us how we work on that reach and how we get these converted into customers. So you can see already these two sections are starting to challenge each other. So if I want to have a 2 million turnover, I go back to my 7 numbers, my 7 key driver numbers, and I know with my conversion rates what marketing reach, what marketing spend I've got to do to get the inquiries, to get the qualified leads, to get the quotes out, to get the customers, to get that 2 million turnover. This is completely taking guesswork right out the equation. Okay. So that says looked at customers and turnover, and that says looked at the marketing. Now we'll move over to the right-hand side and we'll go over here to profits and margins. And we do the exact same thing. We're looking at where the business is today, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years. And what I want business owners to really focus on here is 3 things. Number 1 here, we want to look at your gross profit. So if I'm turning over 2 million, I expect my gross profit to be this. And what I want you to do when you're doing this exercise is do this both as a pound value and as a percentage value, right? Not just putting a figure in, but putting my gross profit is going to be X pounds, which is X percent. Same with the net profit, right? I want my net profit on 2 million to be X pounds and X percentage. And then you do the exact same thing all the way back 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years so that you know exactly where your profits are going to be. Dead easy. Also want to start looking at what cash reserves you're going to build up because it costs money to grow a business. And as we're growing the business profitably, we would like to start retaining some of those profits. So give yourself a target of what cash reserves you want to start building up in your business. And the same again, work all the way back. So that's the profit and the margins. Let's flip back over to the left-hand side now, and we'll look at systems, processes, and innovation. As your business grows, as your business progresses, you will start to invest in systems, processes, and innovation, especially just now when technology is moving at such an incredible pace, right? And all this comes at an investment to the business. And we work all the way back from that as well. You will be investing in not just systems, but time to implement them as well. So we need to start building, first of all, process plan. And then as your business grows, you'll start to take notes here, squiggly line, on what systems and processes you'll have to put in. So, for example, if you've got a small business just now, by the time you get to this middle point here in 3 years' time, and settle around there, then you could perhaps be saying, well, I need a full-blown CRM by the time I get to that point. So if you need a full CRM by the time you get there, that means you're implementing your CRM down about here, because you do not wait till you need the CRM to put the CRM in. You do it before you need it. If you're going to be bringing in your own in-house marketing, then you'll perhaps need systems, processes, and innovation for that. Also, look at R&D tax credits. You know, this is why we put this section in, because when your business starts to grow, it might actually be that you decide, I'm going to do my own custom CRM system rather than buying something off the shelf. I'm going to bring in a developer, do it myself, because you'll get R&D tax credits for that. It actually could be a cost-effective way for you to do that. Again, it's in the plan, but again, there's a cost element to it. So now when we start to look at the turnover that we're looking for and the profits we expect to get from that, we start to look at the marketing and the systems and the team, etc., and all the office and plant vehicles and facilities that we need. And that's going to soon tell us if that profit is realistic. Because you might look at it and go, time I invest in this, and this, based on that turnover, that profit's not realistic. I either need to change this or look at a lower profit. Your business, you decide. Let's crack on and look at the team. You also want to start looking at building roles and responsibilities out with this as you start to build your team. But on the planner, as your business goes through its growth journey, we start to look at what team developments you're going to be making. And we look at full-time, circle there. We look at management, circle there, and maybe look at part-time and subcontractors there. And what we encourage you to do here is put in the numbers for each of the ones. So you might need one manager, you might need 2 part-timers, you might need 5 full-time staff, whatever it actually is, right? Once you've got these numbers in the vision planner, you take them out into your roles and responsibility team chart and you start building that. Again, we cover that later in this course as well. But the idea is so that you're getting a very accurate list, idea, plan of how your team is going to grow and expand as your business grows, because we're then doing 5 years and then obviously working back into where the business is today. And you're probably getting used to this now. We start to look at how much is this going to cost? And as my team grows, how does that impact my profits? Because this is where a lot of businesses get caught out. It costs money to grow a business, and as your business grows, you're bringing in an extra team, but perhaps your sales and profits haven't caught up yet. We call this the cash gap. And you may find that when you start to put all this together, you might go, this team's maybe is not enough. It's maybe too much. It's bang on. That's the whole point of doing this. This is why all these 8 areas challenge each other. Moving on, we then start to look at the personal goals. And you start to put all your personal goals in here, here, and here, right? So your personal goals for 12 months, which is here, might be a new car, a new house. It could be anything. It's your goals. And I'm guessing as you go on, your goals maybe get a little bit more ambitious, and that's absolutely fine. But we want to get these goals written down, and then you'll see there's an icon there for a vision board. We want to get your vision board built up, all your goals basically on the wall. So if you're looking at a holiday home, putting the kids through university, a new car, a boat, whatever it might be, get pictures of these on your vision board. Really, really powerful. And then, of course, we want to be specific again on, well, what's that going to cost me? Because when you're looking at personal goals, that's invariably a dividend or a salary out of the business, which ultimately could impact your profits. So that's why I want to include it in the Mission to Mars Vision Planner. Then we move over to office, plant, vehicles, and facilities. Obviously, as your business grows, all of these are going to become a factor. Do you have to move? Will you need bigger offices? Do you have to buy new plant equipment? Will you have to buy new vehicles, new vans, new cars for sales reps? Do the facilities need expanded? If you're going from 10 staff to 100 staff, what facilities need to change? Everything is going to be here. So we create a plan for that as well. We create office plant, vehicle and facilities plans so that we know exactly what we're spending, but we start to detail it here, squiggly line again. And as your business grows from this turnover to this turnover to this turnover, you're writing down where and when these are required. We see a lot of business owners. This is a really important. I'll shade it in at this area here on the growth journey. It's where things really usually start to happen because that usually involves significant investment, perhaps with bigger premises. You might want to start looking at buying premises as well. Why pay somebody else's rent? Right. So this is one of the biggest breakthroughs I make with business owners when I'm working with them, where we look at what they're paying in rent and what they're paying in a commercial mortgage. Right. There's very little difference between the two. Biggest difference is you've then got an asset on your balance sheet then, right? So what you want to be start looking at is if we're going to have to move, let's plan it. Let's plan on getting some 2, 3, 4 years healthy accounts and then start to look at buying our own premises. I've got some good contacts there for commercial mortgages, so feel free to drop me a line. And then, of course, you know exactly what's coming next. How much is this going to cost me? Now, these are obviously all estimates, right? But they'll be pretty accurate estimates. And now we've absolutely got a vision planner where all the sections are challenging each other, especially on this one here, profits, margins, finances. And the last one, we leave it blank, and this is up to you because every business is different. Your missions, your objectives. So if there's anything in your business that we've not covered in these 7 sections, you add it into the 8th one. What are your missions? What are your objectives? What are they? Big question mark there. But don't forget, if it's got a cost element, we put it in this section here. And that, folks, has been the Mission to Mars Vision Planner. Like I say, when you're doing this, you will not get it right the first time, or the second time, or possibly the third time, right? But at the time you get this completed, you will have two things. You'll have your numbers fairly accurately, but what you'll also be very confident in is each of these sections will have challenged those numbers. They will have ratified those numbers. Print this off, tidy it up. I mean, look at this one. I mean, this is what yours this is what yours will look like when you first do it. Bloody mess. Once you've got it, get it tidied up, get it printed off, and stick it in the wall. You want to see this every single day, which is why over on the left-hand side, you'll see the boarding date, and that's the date you start it, and then your date of arrival, which is your 5-year date, right? You want to see this every day, but you also want to do something else with it. There's something else I want you to do with this vision planner. right? Maybe with the exception of covering up the personal goals, there's something else you want to do with this vision planner. I wonder if you know what it is. Share it with your team so that they can see where the business is going. So you might want to exclude the personal goals for that. That's entirely up to you, but share this with your team and stick it to your wall. That helps. That's seriously how to seriously unfuck your business mission to Mars. Let me know how you got on.